2 years ago, Forbes did an article about how 89% of students use ChatGPT in some capacity to help with their homework. And the world was shook to its core thinking about how the next generation could be influenced and essentially carried by AI to the point where what if they graduate and actually don't know anything? What if the surgeon that is performing brain surgery on you has their own neural link with ChatGPT and Cluey hooked up inside of it telling them what thing to cut open next? Now, luckily, reality as we know it today in great old 2025 is a lot more boring than you would expect. Because the closest we actually get to that dystopian future is one where a city councilor gets caught using AI in one of their meetings.
I was going to be bringing forward a motion requesting the government to review and update Safety Code 6. I was actually the one who informed residents at the meeting that Councillor Brenner was at that it hasn't been updated since 2015. I think I also mentioned that over a year ago at another meeting, but instead of me bringing forward the motion, Councillor Brenner decided to jump on it and have it seconded by someone who hasn't even attended any of those meetings here in Ward 1. I would like to be the one who seconds that motion or the one to bring that forward, if that's okay with Councillor Brenner.
Now, this whole squabble starts because she is angry at another councillor for bringing forth a motion that apparently she wanted to bring forth first. And the motion in question is a review of something called Canada Safety Code 6, a code that essentially exists to check whether there are health risks to humans for things like electromagnetic energy from like cell towers. And some other dude presented the motion before her, but apparently she's already been in a bunch of meetings asking or doing research on why this should be represented since it hasn't been reviewed since 2014. Yeah, she's just really pissed off that someone like got to present that motion before her, so she doesn't, I guess, get to take credit. And she's asking for like a do-over? I don't know how politics work.
Since I was the one that brought that to everybody's attention, and he
Councillor,
knew,
you
he knew
vote,
full well that
he
knew that I was going to bring forward this notice of motion. I mentioned it at the meeting. But he's jumping on it again. So I'm very, very disappointed in council. Thank you.
Here's a clear and assertive version. I want to be clear.
Oh,
I was the one who...
What's that?
okay. Now we heard her Siri. Point of personal privilege.
Right at the end of her speech, I guess and I don't think one of the other people in the call said that it was Siri, but I've talked to ChatGPT on like voice mode enough to know that sounds a lot like if you were just having a conversation with ChatGPT. But right after the call, it says, here's a more clear and assertive version, and then goes on to repeat pretty much the beginning of her speech. I mean, we can never truly know for sure, but it doesn't look great. Everyone on Reddit, at least, is pretty convinced that she used AI to come up with the speech. But my question is, if she was using the voice app on ChatGPT, you don't really get to see text while you're using it, which means she would have had to have that voice mode activated while she gave the speech so that it would respond afterwards, which to me seems like she planned the speech on ChatGPT before, and then while she was about to like read it off or say her piece in the meeting, maybe she accidentally clicked the voice thing, which then made it listen to her while she said her entire speech and then offered to give a better version of it. And everyone in her city is at least piling onto her for it. And it's worth noting, she has quite the reputation in the political scene. I don't follow politics, but just doing some basic research on her. The time since she has taken office in 2022, she has been suspended without pay a total of 7 times for a grand total of 490 days without pay. According to this article, she's been the subject of multiple complaints to the city's integrity commissioner, and her content on various platforms has been characterized as homophobic, transphobic, and racist. Now, you might be wondering, how did someone like this get elected in the first place? And that was my first question. I found this comment on Reddit that said she was elected just by getting a little over 1,600 votes, with a voter turnout of around 7,600. So that's roughly 20% of the vote. And sure enough, if you look at the actual report done by Pickering for the post-poll results, you can see here she received around 1,634 votes for her ward in total, which is more than any other candidate, but still around 20% of the total votes, which I guess if you have 8 different candidates trying to run for city councilor of a region, it's kind of like the best form of democracy that we have, I guess, that even if someone gets like only a fraction of the votes, they still get elected anyways. One thing she does have going for her though is I think she handled this a lot better than other people would have.
Here's a clear and assertive version. I want to be clear.
Oh,
I was the one who
What's that?
okay. Now we heard her Siri. Point of personal privilege.
Pretty much does not like react to it whatsoever other than to look down and stop it and then move it out of the way. I think if I was in that situation, I would not be able to maintain eye contact with the camera as well as she did. It's kind of an amazing response, and I think that just speaks towards her ability to handle herself in times of stress and situations where she's under a lot of pressure. So for that reason, if I was in her district, I would vote for her for yet another term. Maybe she can turn this whole thing around by using the experience and putting like a very tech forward spin on things. Maybe in her next Zoom call, she could come on and tell everyone how she was the one that pushed for AGI when OpenAI first started, and Sam Altman is just out there trying to take the credit for it. Oh man, what a fucking mess. Anyways, on a more serious note, I think this like really begs the question of where we are willing to draw the line in AI usage. I mean, on the one hand, you have things like students using this to sort of carry them in their education, with the glaring implication meaning that all the people that graduate after ChatGPT has come out knows less than the people that graduated before them. And similarly, a lot of engineers at big companies are using AI to cheat on their interviews, which I guess if you even consider programming interviews being a good representation of a developer's skill in the first place, could mean that the devs that are writing code nowadays are a lot worse than the devs that used to. And you also have almost every new startup supplementing like 90% of the code with AI in the first place. And that's scary because when it comes to sectors like finance and healthcare and recruiting, AI being in control of those things can be inherently dangerous depending on how much you trust AI. On the other hand, you have a counselor who clearly didn't get advice on what she should do from the AI, because if she did, it probably would have told her that coming into a meeting trying to tell everyone that it was actually her idea to pass a motion to look into a safety act would have been a pretty bad look or a dumb idea in the first place. So clearly she must have only really used it to just get her feelings in check and create like a very pointed and somewhat aggressive speech about how she feels wrong that that spotlight was stolen from her. In the grand scheme of things, it seems like such a minor infraction, but because I think it's the first example of AI sort of seeping its way in an obvious fashion into this area of politics, it sort of raises the question of how far we're willing to go with all this. Do you think that it's right for politicians to either use AI to figure out what their speeches should be, or at very least take a brain dump that they had and organize it into some speech? Or is this one of those industries that should not be touched by AI at all? Anyways, I thought this whole situation was absolutely hilarious. Again, I know nothing about politics. I'm not taking sides here. I just thought it was fucking hilarious. So let me know what your thoughts are below. Make sure you join our Discord community. If you enjoy talking philosophy about what AI should and shouldn't be able to do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video.